welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something that I think everyone listening will find pretty interesting. It's personality. More specifically, the introvert-extrovert spectrum.
Okay.
I'm sure you've all seen those online quizzes.
Right.
You know, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But today we're going to go a little bit deeper than those surface level labels.
Yeah.
And we're going to really try to understand the nuances of these personality types.
Okay.
And what's even more fascinating is how we can use this knowledge to help us understand ourselves and the people around us a little bit better and navigate our daily lives.
I love that.
So to guide us on this deep dive today, we're going to be using pasted text as our source.
Awesome. I love that source.
And one of the first things that stood out to me from pasted text was this idea that it's not black and white.
Right.
You know, you're not just an introvert or an extrovert. It's not like you get assigned to one team or the other and that's it for life.
No, not at all.
Pasted text really emphasizes that it's more of a spectrum.
That's right, yeah.
With most people falling somewhere in between those two extremes.
It is.
So think of it more like a continuum than like separate boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
You might lean more towards one end of the spectrum, but you probably still have characteristics of the other.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of where the ambivert comes in, right?
Exactly.
They're not just sitting on the fence.
Right.
They have their own unique strengths and challenges.
Cool.
But before we get into all the ins and outs of the ambivert, let's just start by looking at what pasted text tells us about the classic introvert.
Sounds good.
So pasted text describes introverts as finding energy in solitude.
Okay.
It's almost like recharging a battery, right?
Yes.
But it goes deeper than that.
Right.
It talks about how this need for solitude actually impacts their cognitive processes.
Yes, it does.
Like how their brain works.
It really delves into, like, the neurological underpinnings of introversion.
Okay.
And it explains that introverts actually tend to have a lower threshold for external stimulation.
Oh, interesting.
So that means that they can easily become, like, overstimulated in environments that extroverts might find, energizing.
Right.
And this leads them to, like, seek out those quiet spaces to process information and recharge.
You know, that really resonates with me. Like, there are times when I just need to step away from all the hustle and bustle and just have some quiet time to think.
Right.
So it's not just about being shy or antisocial, right?
Exactly. Pasted text really debunks that myth.
Okay.
Introversion is more about how individuals process information and respond to stimuli.
Okay.
So while some introverts might be shy, shyness is really a separate trait that can exist totally independently of introversion. Like, in fact, a lot of introverts actually enjoy social interaction, just in smaller doses and more intimate settings.
So it's all about finding that balance, knowing when to engage and when to step back and recharge.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's flip the coin now. Let's talk about the extrovert.
Yeah.
So pasted text describes extroverts as often being, the life of the party.
They are.
They thrive on that social interaction. And pasted text explains that they actually gain energy from being around people.
It's true.
Oh, wow. So it's like their batteries get charged up by social interaction.
Totally.
That's so interesting. So does that mean that they're always outgoing and they never need any alone time?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Pasted text clarifies that while extroverts do tend to thrive in social settings and seek out that external stimulation, they still need some time to themselves, just like everyone else does.
Right.
However, their threshold for stimulation is higher.
Gotcha.
So they can handle and even crave more of it than introverts.
So it's not a complete dichotomy.
Yep.
It's a matter of degree.
Yes.
Both introverts and extroverts need a mix of social interaction and solitude to function at their best.
They do.
But I am really curious to learn more about how pasted text describes the ambivert.
Yeah.
Because they seem to be this blend of both worlds.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Ambiverts are fascinating. They can kind of adapt to different social situations.
Okay.
And that's what pasted text says. Like, they can enjoy being around people and then be alone. No problem.
Right. So they get energy from both.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds awesome.
It's pretty cool.
But are there any challenges that ambiverts face?
Well, because they don't fit neatly into one category or the other.
Right.
Pasted text mentions that they might have trouble, like, figuring out who they are.
Okay.
Or maybe feel pressure to be one or the other.
Yeah, like society wants you to pick a side.
Exactly.
I feel like being able to adapt would be helpful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In a lot of situations. Right.
For sure. Like pasting text actually points out
Yeah.
that they're really good at jobs where you have to work alone sometimes, but then also with other people.
Right, like they could lead a team meeting and then go work on a project by themselves.
Exactly.
So understanding these personality types, it's more than just like giving people labels.
Right.
It's about recognizing these fundamental differences and how people like process things and how they get their energy and how they interact with the world.
And how they like to work. Yeah.
Yeah, and knowing that can be so helpful
for sure.
in relationships and at work.
Absolutely.
Like if you're putting together a team at work, it would be really helpful to think about those different personality types and make sure you have a good mix.
It's like building a puzzle. You need all the pieces to fit.
Exactly. But pasted text doesn't just talk about individual traits, right?
No, it doesn't.
It also looks at how different personality types work together in a group.
Yeah, it has a whole section about that.
Okay.
It's important, to value everyone's contributions.
Right. So it's not about saying one type is better.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding how those differences actually make things better.
Exactly. Think about it.
Okay.
If everyone on a team was an extrovert, you'd have tons of energy. Brainstorming would be amazing.
Right.
But maybe no one would want to do the planning.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Or the deep thinking.
Right. And if everyone's an introvert,
then they might be great at working alone.
Yeah.
But maybe not so good at communicating with each other.
It's all about that balance.
Exactly.
Where each type can use their strength and bring their own perspective.
And that applies to any group.
Yeah.
Your work team, your family, your friends.
Yeah. It's about understanding those differences so we can appreciate each other.
Right.
And, work through those challenges.
Definitely.
I'm realizing this isn't about putting people in boxes.
Right.
It's about understanding why people do the things they do.
And having empathy for them.
Yes. And using that to be better at interacting with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Conflict resolution would be a great example.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because if you know someone's behavior is because of their personality.
Right.
And not because they're trying to be mean. You can be more understanding.
Absolutely.
It's like this new way of seeing the world.
I like that. A new lens.
Yeah, you can see past just how people act.
Yes.
And appreciate how complex we all are.
That's a good point.
This has really changed how I think about personality.
That's great.
And I'm starting to look back at things that happened.
Yeah.
And think about them differently.
That's awesome.
It's helping me understand why I react the way I do.
That self-awareness is really important.
Yeah, once you know your own tendencies, you can make choices that work for you.
Exactly. So if you know you're more introverted,
yeah,
you can make sure you have time to recharge. Or pick projects where you can really focus.
And if you're more extroverted,
then you can look for chances to work with other people.
Right. You create an environment where you can do your best.
Exactly.
It's amazing how something like understanding personality types can change how we see ourselves and the world.
It's pretty powerful.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, though, right?
It is. Pasted text is just the beginning.
Okay.
There's so much more out there to learn.
I'm definitely curious to learn more.
That's great.
It's like we've opened this door to a whole new understanding of people.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
And I'm excited to see where it leads.
Me too.
But for now, let's talk about how we can actually use all of this in our lives.
Okay, sounds good.
It's like we've learned this secret language, you know, the language of personality. And now we can understand what people mean.
I like that.
Even when they don't say it.
It's a great way to put it.
And pasted text actually gives us some tips on how to use this in real life.
Okay.
Like if you know someone's an introvert and they need some time alone, you can recognize that and not take it personally.
Exactly.
Like if your coworker doesn't want to go to happy hour, maybe they just need to recharge.
It's not about you.
Right.
They just need some quiet time.
And then on the other hand, if your friend's an extrovert and they always want to be around people, you can understand that too.
And support them.
Yeah.
That's what friends are for.
It's all about recognizing that we're all different.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
That's what makes the world interesting.
Right. And pasted text talks about how this can help when people have disagreements.
Makes sense.
Because different personality types might handle conflict differently.
True.
So you can change how you communicate and find a way to agree.
So like if you're arguing with someone and they're really introverted, maybe they don't like conflict.
Right.
You need to be patient.
give them space to think.
Exactly.
This is making me think about my own experiences in a whole new way.
That's great.
Like I'm understanding why I do the things I do.
That self-awareness is so important.
It is. Because once you know yourself, you can make better choices.
Exactly. Like if you're an introvert, you can schedule breaks for yourself to recharge.
And if you're an extrovert,
you can look for chances to collaborate.
Right. Find what works for you.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I know, right?
Who knew that understanding personality types could be so helpful?
It can change your life.
And this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Pasted text just gives us a taste.
It gets you thinking.
It does. I want to learn more.
That's awesome.
It's like we've opened a door.
A new world.
Yeah, to understanding how people work.
I love it.
And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Me too.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
Me too.
Into the world of personality.
It was fun.
And I hope you learned something.
Yeah, me too.
That you can use in your own life.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
And keep diving deep.